Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Welcome to the Universal Podcast Network. One voice, everywhere.
Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest, Emmy-Winning sound editor and one of only 4 women who work inside the pit at Ground Zero. Not than Miss Solange Schwalbe.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, Miss Solange, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more by yourself that I missed?
I am a motion picture sound editor in feature films since 1981. And in 1980, I was living in New York City. When I got back, I started going to New York City every year for Christmas. And when the towers were hit, I couldn't go back because I could not stand seeing the skyline without the Twin Towers. And my best friend in New York convinced me to come over, so I did. I ended up volunteering. And then from volunteering, I was hired to work in the pit. So I was in the pit for 4 months. And 25 years later, I wrote a book. It took me 20 years to write the book. So.
Miss Solange, the pit, you're talking about the HBO, the pit, or which one?
The HBO.
The Pit, the series.
No. I'm talking about the pit of Ground Zero.
Oh, the Pit of the Ground Zero. My apologies. But here on Book 101 Review, Ms. Solange, we salute you. We celebrate you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to us, as well as to the world. Thank you. And of course, Ms. Solange is the author of the debut book, I'm Not Supposed to Know This. Congratulations, because it's already published today, wherever you, buy your books or books are sold. So let's talk about all the hustle we mentioned. You had thriving Hollywood career, over 175 film credits, an Emmy for, John Adams. What made you leave the world behind to travel to New York City after 9/11 when so many others were fleeing Manhattan?
It's crazy. It was Christmas, and I didn't want to go, and my best friend talked me into it. So I went to the site where was nothing but debris pile and cranes with flags on top of them, and I said, I need to volunteer. So I volunteered feeding the rescue workers, and while I was feeding the rescue workers, a gentleman came up to me and said, I've been watching you for the last week, and I really like the way you interact with the rescue workers. Would you like a job? So I took it.
You took it, and that's the beginning. You arrive in New York on Christmas 2001. The timing felt significant. The holidays, the city's still raw. What did the city feels like when you first arrived? What was the specific moment when you realized you would not be going home anytime soon?
Well, I did not anticipate this at all under any circumstance. When I arrived in New York City, we went to the Empire State Building and looked towards Lower Manhattan to see nothing but bright lights like a football field. It was horrible. I was crying. It was awful. After Christmas, we went down to the site, and I just thought, you know what? I don't have a movie to go on to. I'm a subcontractor. I'm hired per movie. I didn't have a movie to go on to in 2002, so I thought I could volunteer 2 weeks. That's all it was supposed to be, 2 weeks. And while I was volunteering, like I said, this gentleman came up to me and said, "You want a job?" And I'm like, "I have no job to go to, but I'm a sound editor in feature films. I don't belong here. He goes, "No, I can train you. OSHA has Whopper confined space. It's that mouth of yours." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "You can talk to anybody." So I was trained and put into the pit for 4 months.
Interesting. Miss Solange, you volunteered first with the Salvation Army before being hired as a safety monitor.
Best thing that's ever happened to you financially. Go.
Easy. Sold my car on Carvana. Amazing offer.
Really? I hit 200 on the scratcher.
Did the scratcher come to your house and hand you a check?
No.
How many scratchers did you hit to get that? I hit a button on Carvana.com once.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like the lottery, except you always win.
Not like the lottery at all, actually.
Exactly. Inexplicably good. Offers worth bragging about. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
What was the volunteer work and how did it lead to someone saying, "We need you inside the pit"?
We were feeding the rescue workers. We had a food line. The food was incredible because all of the local restaurants gave us their food. And I started bussing tables. So while I was bussing tables, I was talking to the rescue workers and asking them questions and telling them who I am. My name is Solange, call me Hollywood. And this man had been watching me for the last week interact with the rescue workers, and he needed someone who could talk to anybody. And they were watching me, and they picked me to represent his company.
Interesting. Yeah. Your memoir is titled "I'm Not Supposed to Know This." What is that this you are supposed to know? And why did that phrase become the title of your account?
I'm not supposed to know what it's like to clean up after the atrocities of mankind. I'm not supposed to know what a grappler and a driller and a freon and all these terms of endearment. I'm not supposed to know what they are. I'm not supposed to know what it's like to be in the pit of ground zero. I didn't belong there.
Certainly. And can you describe what typically workday look like? If the sensory details, the sounds, the rhythm in a way that help us understanding what daily life was actually like down there.
Well, the sound was over the top. The sound was so loud, and eventually you get used to it. But we had to yell at each other. You had to yell at your thoughts. It was so unbelievable. It was relentless. The sound was relentless. The smell was hideous. It smelled like burnt hair, burnt flesh, burnt oil, and all the chemicals you could possibly think of. And it was just, the smell was hideous. It was zone dust. There was no dirt at ground zero. Every time you look in the pit, if you see pictures of the pit, that's not dirt you're looking at. We called it zone dust. And it's a horrible, sticky, smelly, awful substance of what was the result of the towers collapsing. The vibe of the energy of the pit was extremely dynamic because we all had a job and we were orchestrated to do our jobs diligently. The uniforms had one job and the non-uniforms had another job. The uniforms job, they had one job. Fire department, police, EMS had one job: to find bodies and body parts. That's it. That was their only job. The non-uniforms were the contractors, the iron workers, the excavators, the grappler operators. All of the contractors were non-uniforms, and that's what my company was. We were the safety monitors of World Trade Center 6 and Freon monitor in Tower 1, none of which I'm supposed to know.
Well, thank you for sharing the tough story to us, Ms. Solange. You were safety monitor. What were your specific responsibilities, and what was the moment you were felt the weight of the role most acutely, where someone's safety genuinely depend on your attention?
They completely they completely depended upon our safety check. We had to check for hard hats, safety glasses, ear protection, respirators, gloves, flashlights, steel-toed boots. We had to check every human being that walked into World Trade Center 6, head to toe. They had to sign, they had to register, they had to tell us what their name, company, date, and what their job was. They got a tag to wear over their necks, around their necks, a tag that allowed them to be in the building. That means they passed inspection. Then the other job was to monitor the air, carbon dioxide, gas, and explosives. And we would monitor 24 hours a day, around the clock, the environment of World Trade Center 6 to make sure this confined space was safe for the rescue workers.
You were only one of the 4 women among more than 1,500 responders. What was like to navigate the environment, and did your experience as a woman in the male-dominated film industry prepare you in any unexpected way?
Yeah. Yes, indeed, because out of every 20 editors, there's one woman. And at Ground Zero, I didn't know there were only 4 of us. We didn't know it until afterwards, until years later when we found out. At the time I was there were only 4 women in the pit. And we did, and I know all 4 of them, and we didn't know it. We did not we did not get together as a society and
Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
and become a little sorority. We had no clue that we were in such a rare situation. So we did not know it at the time. But the film industry did prepare me to work in a male-dominating role. Absolutely.
Sound in your art form, you spent decades shaping what audience hear. What do you remember hearing inside the pit that has never left you, and how do you shape your experience of Ground Zero differently than others?
World Trade Center 6 was on the verge of collapsing at any time. And we knew on a day-to-day basis, we were prepared for the floors to crumble. At the end of the contract, my boss said, I sent you to your death every day. And that was so profound that I never forgot it. That was so over the top. That was so frightening. And to this day, I've never forgotten that.
Interesting. What do you remember most about the people you work alongside? The firefighters, police officers, construction crews. Is there a person whose face or story you still carry with their particular clarity?
I have a Ground Zero family that I get to see every year. I have been to every memorial every year for the last 25 years. And I get to see my Ground Zero family every year. I have created relationships with my Ground Zero colleagues that would have never existed had the towers not been attacked. I would never know any of these people, and we're family. We're very close, and to me, it is so devastating that I get chills that we would not know each other had it not been for the attacks. That is called survivor guilt. It is very difficult to deal with, and yet these people mean everything in the world to me, all of them.
Well said, well said. And let's talk about on service witness and the aftermath. Miss Lon, you witnessed things at Ground Zero that most people never saw. How do you carry those memories now, and what has helped you process what you experienced without being consumed by it?
Oh, no, I was consumed by it. The first 3 years after Ground Zero, I was devastated. I was mortified. I was dysfunctional. I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get a place to live. I couldn't do anything right. It was just a horrible time for me. And those 3 years, I ended up in crisis counseling, and I had to get all the help possible because I could not function. I could not get past what I had just experienced. So it took crisis counseling to get me back on track, and I started teaching. And teaching feeds my soul. I love teaching. It allowed me to make a difference in my students' lives, and that meant everything in the world to me. So teaching helped me heal. It took me 20 years to write this book because I couldn't face it. I couldn't face it. The 5-year anniversary, the 10-year, the 15-year, the 20-year, couldn't do it. I could not sit down and write this book. It was too painful. And in 2024, something came over me, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I hired a writer and said, let's just do this and see what happens. And that's how this book was created.
Let's do it. Yes. So, was there a moment inside the pit that cracked you open where the professional composure you not maintained gave way to something more human and unguarded?
Ugh, that's a very profound question, Daniel. That's huge. Okay, so here we go. I am in the site of Tower 1. I am reading Freon on the ground to see if there's any Freon being released. I see a bunch of blue uniforms, all the policemen in a crowd across a hill from me, like I'd say 100 yards from me. And I'm watching them, trying to figure out what's going on. I think they've made a full body recovery. And what happens in the recovery is that the body is placed in a white body bag. The body bag is placed into a red basket, and in a red biohazard bag are all the parts and helmets and gear, and anything that belonged to that policeman goes in the biohazard bag, including separate body parts. And then all of it is covered in a flag. And then the flag, the basket goes to the bottom of the ramp, and then they do a prayer. Then they take the basket up to the top of the ramp very, very, very slowly. And at the top, they do a prayer, and then they put the basket into an ambulance to take to the morgue. Well, that particular day, I was watching them, and I was going, what is happening? What are they doing? And all of a sudden, out of the ground comes this thing. I don't know what to call it, but it was like it's like they were holding at end to end, and it was like, you know how you carry a deer end to end, and it was like so. It looked so unusual, and I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be a body. And they dropped it into the white body bag, and I'm like, I lost it. I absolutely lost it. I could not believe, I couldn't even imagine what that human being must have gone through to be found in the rubble like they did at that time. And I sat down I found a paint can, I flipped it upside down, I sat down and started crying. One of my rescue workers, one of my colleagues came up to me and said, "Hey, Hollywood, how you doing? What's going on?" And I pointed, and he said, "Uh-oh." He said, "Your day is done." He stood me up, walked me back to the trailer, and sent me home. The next day, a photo showed up at my boss's office showing me sitting down in the pit, and they wanted me to be fired. And my boss said, "No, I'm not going to fire her." He refused to fire me. So I sat down in the pit crying when I witnessed this body being pulled from the pile.
Well, that is interesting story. Thank you for sharing to us, Ms. Lon. And to wrap up our discussion for today, the recovery effort had a particular culture of service and solidarity. What do you learn about human beings out there best during those 4 months that the rest of us who only saw the tragedy on the screen might not understand?
Unconditional human spirit. We were all there for one reason. We were all there, didn't matter where you were from, what your race, creed, color, religion, none of it mattered. We were all there for the one reason. We all greeted each other every day at the beginning. We all said goodbyes every day at the end. We all were there for the same reason, and it didn't matter who you were or where you were from. It was the most united in people of all races, creeds, colors. Everybody around the world was so amazing. I have never seen the human spirit so powerful as I did at Ground Zero.
Well, Ms. Solange, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
My book is out today. It launched today on August 11th. And it's on Amazon.com. It's on BarnesandNoble.com. It's on bookstore.com, and it's on Amplify.com. And the Kindle version is out today for $1.99 one day. And it's the audiobook comes out August 25th. So, and I'm in New York City as we speak, and I'm hitting up all the bookstores and trying to get readings and book signings set up.
Well said, Miss Solange. And people, let's support Miss Solange, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to rise. I have one more question before I will let you go. When someone finishes your book or hears your story, what is the single thing you most want them to carry forward? Not the fact about Ground Zero, but an understanding about what it means to show up when the world is on fire.
Exactly. That's exactly right. What does it mean when the world is on fire? The human spirit will work together, combined as one, to make it better, to heal, to make to recover, rescue and recover, and with unconditional terms, that the human spirit, that is proof that you cannot break the human spirit. It is a very powerful element, and I got chills. So it's a very I have never witnessed anything like it, to see how people united together as one, as I did at Ground Zero.
Well said, beautifully articulated, Miss Solange, and hoping for more books like this to come. And well, looking forward for that audiobook. When it will drop again?
The audiobook is August 25th.
August 25th, people, the audiobook. I'm not supposed to know this. So, Miss Solange, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure, privilege to be here.
Yes, I will invite you again to please to come over on my abstract essay, and let's talk about the writing process. I'm not supposed to know this. Okay, Miss Solange, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Modicon people, see you soon.
Thank you for joining us on the Universal Podcast Network. One voice, everywhere.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun. An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast! An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.